First thing we're gonna watch today is how to save and open our programs. This is something we didn't do yesterday because we were doing very small programs. But well, this works like on any other application. There is a save as option, and there is an open option. So if we write here a program like number 4, and we can just go ahead and save as. First thing we have to do is choose the folder, like here, and we just type a name and save it. And the next thing we can come back and just open the program. So all the little programs we do are not lost. So we can come back and make some changes and try them out again. So now that we know how to save and open programs, let's go back to the one function we were having a look at yesterday, background. Let's check again on the reference. It's here. I can show you where I found it. It's right here on the top. And we saw there's 2 options or more. You can type 1 number inside the parentheses, or 3 numbers, or it later explains how to load some images. But let's try just with the colors first. So we can try typing a few numbers here inside the parentheses to see which effect it has. With a 0, we get a black color. Let's try 100. We get some dark gray. And with 200, we get a light gray. And I know the maximum is 255. Then we get white. So we see that just typing 1 number here, we get different shades of gray. How do I know that 255 is the maximum? Well, that's a very usual number in computers, that something is valid between 0 and 255. So that means there are 256 possible values. If we check on the reference, not on the background page, but maybe on color mode or stroke, it will mention these 255 values. Stroke, this is the page for stroke here, is used to change the color of the border. We will see that later. I just wanted to show you that here says that the default color space is RGB, with each value in the range from 0 to 255. So yeah, there's 256 possible values. So if 1 number gets us different shades of gray, I guess if I type the other option, there's 3 different values, then I should be able to get colors. So I run this program. Oh, I get the same. I get the same if I type 255 than if I type this 255 3 times. I will explain why in a second. This will happen with any time we type the same value 3 times, we get a shade of gray. Actually, what these 3 values are, they are what's called RGB, which means red, green, blue. So if we have the same amount of red, green, and blue, we get a gray shade. So the way to get colors is to have different values, not all 3 equal, but to have them different. So we can try 200, 150, see what we get. We get this, what is that, brown, orange. One way to see that this is really RGB is let's enter like 255.00. That should mean we are only having red light, and green light and blue light are gone. We only have red component here. If I run this program, I get red. The same will happen if I instead of red, I add maybe only green. It works. So you can try that for blue. Then what happens if you combine like red and green? So let's put some, like the maximum amount of red and the maximum amount of green. Then we get yellow. There's at least two ways of generating color. This is additive like light. So it's the amount of red light, green light, and blue light. If you have 0, 0, 0, that means you don't have any light at all. That's why it's black. And if you have the maximum, 255, 3 times, then you're having the maximum amount of light of red, green, and blue light, so you're getting white. The other way of generating colors is subtractive. This is how printers work. In that case, instead of red, green, blue, you use cyan, magenta, CYM, yellow, and black. In this case, you start with white, which is the white paper, and the more ink you add, the darker it becomes. You could say that with the computer screens, you start with black, and you add light, and the more light you add, the brighter the color, until you get white eventually. That's the difference between additive color and subtractive color. So now we know that we can generate colors adding red, green, and blue component to change the background. Like yesterday, we could replace these numbers for a random value. See where we have a 0, let's write a random 256. So let's replace each 0 with a random 256. This random 256 is a function that converts itself into a number between 0 and 255, should be, or less than 256. Now we're gonna get unexpected colors. Every time we run the program, it will make up a random amount of red, a random amount of green, a random amount of blue. See, that's some kind of blue, and I run it again. This is like purple and some kind of dark pink. Okay, and this is just running one time. We can do like yesterday, that it would do this many times per second. For that, we wrote void draw, open and close parentheses, then open curly braces, and at the end we close the braces. Everything that is between this open and close braces is executed multiple times per second. And I'm gonna click run, and this is gonna go really fast. Too fast actually to notice really the colors. So there must be a way to make this slower. Let's check on the reference manual. I don't know how it could be called, but I'm gonna hit Control F and search for frame. Maybe there's something like frames per second, or here there's frame rate. That sounds like right. Frame rate specifies the number of frames to be displayed every second. So that's what we want. We want to make this smaller. Here says the default rate is 60 frames per second. Well, that's quite fast. Let's make it slower. Here it says it's recommended to set the frame rate within setup. What is this setup? You can see we have this void draw function. This we are using already. All this, in this example, all this code is run multiple times per second. But we can add this. We will check in a minute the manual. We check this outside. Now we have two functions. We had a void draw and a group of sentences. In this case, we have only one that says background, changes the background color. Now we have here another function that says setup and frame rate 4. Let's make it even slower. Let's make it just one frame per second. And then run this program. So now we can change the background is changing 1 time per second. Finally, let's check on the manual what this setup. So I go back here and I search Control F, set up. It's here. And here it says called once when the program is started. Used to define an initial environment properties such as screen size, background color, loading images, etc. before the draw begins executing. So these two functions are used in many processing programs. First, you configure some things. So in the setup, you define some things, some characteristics for your movie, like in this case, how fast, how many frames per second it displays, and later you have another function that is executed this many times per second. In this case, just 1. You can check also the draw, the reference page for draw, which will say, let's see, it's called directly after setup and continuously executes the lines of code contained inside its block until the program is stopped or no loop is called. Usually we will not understand everything, every detail on the manual at the beginning until we have more experience, and then we know more functions, like here's talking about mouse pressed. We don't know anything about the mouse yet, but we will find out.